For only 72 cents a day, you can save a chicken's life.
In the arms of the angel, fly away from here, from
This is the final design of the Poultry Broiler house system. In this video, we'll be showing some key features and how to operate the system for the chicken house. First step is going to be to power on the system with the power on switch. You'll flip it up after plugging in your 12-volt power supply and wait about 45 seconds for the system to boot up. After the system has powered up, it will display the project's name, the people who made it, and then we'll go through a startup initialization. Startup initialization, make sure everything is working. Once startup initialization has completed, it will tell you to use the auto manual toggle switch in order to change modes. We'll go over auto first. One of the key features on this design is the on and air lights and the number of active fans. It tells you when a fan is not working properly. This is determined by the sensors. As you can see right now, the sensor is down, and when I start the program, it starts out red. Once the sensor has reached a height, the light will then go to green, and there are one active fan. In automatic mode, you have two choices, airflow and temperature. We'll go with temperature for right now by selecting B on our keypad. It will then ask you to enter in a minimum temperature and a maximum temperature. If the current temperature is lower than the minimum temperature, the exhaust fan will activate, acting as a heating element to the house, as if you had an air conditioning unit in order to heat it. If the maximum is lower than the current temperature, it will activate the intake fans in order to cool the house down. If the current temperature falls within the range of the two, it will say temperature regulated. We will first go with the minimum temperature being higher than the current temperature, activating the exhaust fan. The current temperature right now is around 69 degrees, so we will set the minimum temperature to be 72 degrees. Once you have entered your numbers, press the pound key in order to enter. Next, we will set the maximum temperature to 80. Now that you have set minimum and maximum temperatures, it will activate the exhaust fan. The current temperature right now is 70.9. I will now heat up the temperature sensor in order to show that the fan will turn off once it has reached that temperature. And it says temperature regulated. Once the temperature has been regulated, you'll be back into the main screen for temperature and airflow. Now we will go with temperature again to show what happens when the current temperature falls within the range you select. It'll ask you to enter in the minimum temperature again. We know the current temperature is 70.9 degrees, so we'll make the minimum temperature 65. And we'll make the maximum temperature 80 degrees. Since it falls within the temperature we set, it will say temperature regulated, and you will go back to the main menu of the auto switch. We'll do temperature one more time. And this time we will set the maximum temperature to be lower than the current temperature. So we'll enter our minimum temperature for 65 again. And we will set a maximum temperature of 69. This will activate the intake fans in order to cool down the house. And on the front of the house for each of these, we'll display whether or not both fans are working and how many active fans there are. Right now there are 2, since there are 2 intake fans. Next we will go into manual mode. In order to get into the manual mode, you will use the toggle switch for auto and manual. You will switch it down into manual and it will go into manual mode. In manual mode, you can either control the intake fans or the outtake fan. We will control the intake fans first. In order to use intake fans, you will select number 1. Once you have selected one, it will say you selected input fans and will ask you to enter a speed of low, medium, or high. We will enter high. Once your fans have been set to high speed, it will activate the intake fans. It will show whether the fans are working or not and the amount of active fans. In manual mode, it is not dependent on what the temperature is or what you want the airflow to be. In order to see the temperature, you will use a toggle switch, and in order to see the airflow, you will flip the switch down. It will display cubic feet per minute, which is how you measure airflow. Next, we will go with the outtake fan. In order to get back to the previous menu, you will press 0. It will tell you that the fans have stopped, and you'll be back into the enter speed menu. In this menu, you'll press it one more time, and it'll take you back into the main menu of manual mode, where we will go into the outtake fan now. You select the outtake by pressing the number 2. It'll ask you to enter a speed again, low, medium, and high. 1 being low, 4 being medium, 7 being high. We will go 7. This will activate the intake fan, or outtake fan. Yet again, this is not dependent on the temperature or the airflow, but you can see either. Next, we will present the reset button. During any time of the program, you may reset except for in startup initialization. There are 2 different types of reset, soft and hard reset. In soft reset, you will only reset the program to the very beginning. You'll press and hold for 1 to 2 seconds and let go. It'll bring you back to the project name, the people who made it, and go through startup initialization again. Once this is over, it will show the hard reset mode. Now that the startup initialization is over again, we'll show you the hard reset mode. This reset mode will turn off the Raspberry Pi that is controlling the system and will allow you to power off the system entirely safely. You'll press and hold it. It'll tell you to keep pressing to turn off the Pi. After that, you'll be greeted with goodbye and thank you, and you may let go of the reset button and turn the system off. Next will be some of the design highlights and wiring techniques we used. In this video, we'll show you everything that we have implemented. Very first is the power on and off switch. It is a fixed position switch that will power the system off and on. Our other 2 fixed position switches are the auto and manual, temperature, and airflow. The reset switch will help you reset the system. And we have a keypad acting as our momentary switches and the user input. Here we have 6 LEDs in order to show on and error status for the fans. each fan individually controlled by a sensor that we custom made. The sensors that we are using are flex sensors. It takes the voltage and we converted that to an angle. And after we converted to angles, we were able to see what the maximum airflow of the fan is, which is displayed on its data sheet, and calculate how much of an angle is given to the maximum airflow. Next is the amount of active fans. It is controlled by the sensors as well and acts as a backup error detection for the fan statuses. Next, we'll look inside the box to see our wiring, breakout board, and other boards. Inside you'll see we have 2 healthy and alive chickens because of our system. The first board we will show you is our temperature sensor board. This shows what the current temperature is inside of the house and helps turn on the fans and turn them off for when the temperature is reached. The next board is the next sensor. This is for the flex sensors and also the fan. Here is the back of the boards that you have seen earlier for the 7 segment and the 6 status LEDs. Here's our power distribution board powering the entire system. With this we have a 5-volt output for the Pi, 5-volt output for the system, 3.3 volt for the output of the system, and a 12-volt output for the rest of the system as well. Next we'll look inside the control panel. Inside of the control panel is most of where everything is wired. In here you will see we have a Raspberry Pi hooked up with a cobbler. This breakout board has many things on it. Here's our motor driver, here's our port expander, and here's our ADC, our analog to digital converter. We use this in order to get the maximum airflow for the flex sensors and in order to get the temperature that is inside the system. We use a decoupling capacitor on all the chips in order to make sure that none of the chips were destroyed. Thank you for watching.